Hi guys, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to a counseling session with Excel. Hope you guys are doing great. It's Saturday. I so love my Saturdays because it's time for me to do what I love, to declutter, to clean, to relax. We're just going to give it a couple minutes while Facebook sends out the notification that we're live so many people can join us. Today, we're talking about the consequences of a low self-esteem. And I want as many people to join as possible because this is a very crucial and important topic. So I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes, share it on my page. Once you get in, say hi, like, and share. Okay, so let me just share on my own, on my page, on my profile. Never pay. You have given me free of charge. You have given me free of charge. You have done it all free of charge. Redemption, salvation. You have set me for free. You have set me for free. Hello guys. Welcome to Counseling Sessions with Excel. Usually I give it about 5 minutes before I get into what I have to share for today. So we're just going to wait for more people to join. Once you come on, click on the like button, share on your timeline, say hi so I can know who's watching. I would love to acknowledge you. I would love to say, hey, thank you for joining me and call your name. We're just waiting for more people to join. And when, in about 3 minutes, I will get on to what I have to share. But if you're here, say hi. Let me know you're here so I can acknowledge you. Go ahead and share on your timeline. Okay? And we will get started. Let's just give people 3 more minutes to join us. Yeah, and encourage people to join on the Excel Mbaacha page because when they're watching from another page, I can hardly see their comments until I'm off air. I'm off the air. And I want to see people's comments because today is going to be very interactive. There's a lot that I have to share, but I believe that there's a lot also that you will be commenting and I will be learning from you. So please direct your traffic over to the page itself so I can see everyone's comments. And once you log and say hi, I would like to know who's here. Say hi and share on your timeline. 2 more minutes and we will get started. I can never pay, but you have given me free of charge. Oh, I can never pay. I can never pay, but you have. Today we're talking about the consequences of a low self-esteem. It's a juicy topic. It's something that I believe that a lot of communities, a lot of people are not talking about, and we're seeing the ripple effects disguised in so many kinds of, so many forms, shapes, and sizes. So we want to talk today about the consequences of a low self-esteem. Let me tell my people that I'm live so they can join. Say hi, guys. Free of charge. You put salvation plan all by yourself. You didn't need my effort. No, you don't need my input. If he was a man, he would have asked that I should pay. But you have done it all for me. Free of charge. Okay, it's just been a couple minutes in, and I believe we should carry on so that We can have respect for your time. Hi, guys. Good morning. For those who are just joining, this is Excel. I have started this canceling sessions with Excel where I pick a topic that I am so passionate about to talk about, to motivate, to inspire, to teach, to also learn from you. And today we're going to be talking about the consequences of a low self-esteem. If you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes because there are a couple things that I wrote out to share, a couple points that I want us to talk. And today is going to be really interactive. There's going to be a number which I will put across the screen where you can send your questions if you have any questions on the topic that we're covering for today. Last week we had a counseling session and the topic was how to move on from a breakup, or identifying some points that hinder a person from moving on. And that was really good. I shared tips, I shared a lot of information, affirmations. If you would love to have that material, click on the group that's in the comment section and it would take you to the Better Way with Excel, where you would have all that material and all that information in there. And thank you to everybody who joined. I may not be able to have counseling sessions every Saturday because, of course, it is tasking to put together, all the information that I have to share. I not only cancel, I have the immigrant mom, I have my full-time job, I have my kids, I have my husband. So it gets pretty busy. So I'm going to be doing these counseling sessions maybe twice a month. Or that would be every other week. Yesterday, I posted about my anniversary, 8 years anniversary being a lawyer, and I told my story, and the response has been amazing. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has left a comment, who has sent, their regards. This goes to show us that you should never underestimate yourself. You never know what you're able to do until you apply yourself to it. And, it's just a beautiful story of what we can attain, of what the things we can achieve if we put ourselves to it. Hi, Morris. For some reason, I cannot see your comment up in the live, but thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about the consequences of a low self-esteem. Okay, before we jump into it, I would just want to know, what is your definition of self-esteem? People call it different things. In the community where I grew up in, you heard a lot about inferiority complex. You heard a lot about superiority complex. You heard people talking about, oh, this person has an insecurity. Those are all names that we give for issues bordering around self-esteem. But my definition is pretty simple, which I'll share with you in a minute. I'm going to say that we're going to be live for about 30 to 45 minutes max, because I have another speaking engagement after this. And so we're not going to stay here for too long. The simplest definition I can think about for self-esteem is the value that you associate with yourself, the value that you attach to yourself. What do you think you are worth? What do you think you are deserving of? That is self-esteem. To those that don't think that they are worth anything or don't think that they are worth much, those are the people that have an issue with their self-esteem. They have a low self-esteem. There are people that think that they're way more, or they are, nobody is up to them. They're the better person in everything. Those ones have a high inflated, high complex, I would say, a superiority complex. And that's a topic for another day, because both of them have issues. We always strive to have a balance in our self-esteem. Today, we're going to be focusing on low self-esteem. And, a lot of people will say, no, I love myself. I don't have a self-esteem problem. There are those that know that they have a self-esteem problem because they can see it through the things that are happening in their lives. And then there are those that don't know or just in denial. And there are people that you will see all made up. They have a career, they have their cars and their homes, and they have a serious problem with their self-esteem, but they've just found a way to mask it. And if that is you, I'm glad that you're listening, because there's just, I want to help. I want to share what I was able to do in my own life, because I'm not saying that I have overcome, or I'm not saying that I have never dealt with this. I have. In all honesty and truth, I have, and I would share that at the end. So the definition is the value you attach to yourself. When you walk into a store and you see the goods on the shelf, it tells you how much each of them will cost. It tells you, what the store owner thinks they're made of or they're valued. And so when you walk into a store, you can tell that, I can afford this, or I will not be able to afford that. That's the value, of that thing. What is the value you have attached to yourself, and why is this important? Why are we here on a Saturday morning when I could have been doing X million amount of things, but I'm here to talk about this topic? It is so crucial and so important because your self-esteem will play a major role in the choices and in the decisions that you will make in your life. I'll say that again. Your self-esteem, your own perception of your worth would have a very, very crucial role to play in the choices, in the decisions that you make, and whether or not you would attain your full potential, whether or not you will live up to the dreams and the hopes that you have for yourself, whether or not you would even dream for yourself would depend on whether you have a healthy esteem or you don't. A lot of people claim that they love themselves. You see them taking selfies all over the place. They post on a daily basis. They look like slay queens and boss men that have everything together. But the biggest indicator of whether you have a good self-esteem or not is in your decisions and in your choices. It's not in your pictures, because we look for the best angle, right? We look for the best, happiest moments to post. That is not indicative of whether or not you have a good self-esteem or not. We wear makeup and hide some of those things. But the question is, when the light is out, how are you? Right? When no one else is seeing, what is that voice that is in your head that keeps on saying, you are not worth it? You are not beautiful enough. You will never amount to anything. There's no good coming your way. Those are signs of a person that is struggling with their value. But before we go further, I want us to go to the beginning of things. I love to examine things. I like to have an analysis, not just of the fruits, but of the root. Let us go to where this whole thing started. And I'm going to open my Bible. For those of you who don't know, Excel is a Christian counselor. The Bible is my basis. The Bible is where I draw my inspiration. The Bible is where God teaches me the wisdom that I need for my life, and which I can then share with you. So today we're going to be looking at what happened in the Garden of Eden. That's the beginning. Let us look at where this whole thing started off from, where humanity's esteem was attacked. Okay, so I will not read the entire story. If you know the Eden story, is when the serpent, the talking serpent, came to Eve and was talking to her and was asking her, did God say you should not eat the fruit from the tree and all of that? Now, let me read to you the effects of that disobedience and what happened. And it says that then when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they realized they were naked. They realized they were naked, so they sewed fig leaves together and made a covering for themselves. So after that encounter with the talking serpent, for the first time, they began to be aware of themselves. Shame was the first thing that came into it. Now, when a person's esteem is broken, there are two things that will happen. Okay. When your self-esteem is broken, you would have shame. So shame is introduced into the matter, an awareness of self, an awareness that they did not have in the first place. Adam and Eve, I'm talking about the Eden story. Then after they heard the talking serpent, after they listened to the talking serpent, they became aware of their nakedness. They became aware of their nakedness and were ashamed and started looking for stuff to cover their nakedness up. That is what happens. Think about a child. Have you ever been around a baby? Have you ever been around an infant? They're so pure. They don't have any awareness of what even might be their physical shortcomings. They are very bold. They ask questions. They are jiggly. They're so cute to be around because every one of us was born in that wholeness and that whole nature. And as we begin to grow, there are things that influence us. There's the media that begins to propagate a certain picture of what beauty is. And then we start reasoning things out. Our eyes become open. We start listening. Another thing that would introduce a broken self-esteem in a person's life is experiences like bullying in school. If you have children that are being bullied, that's why it is so important as parents to understand the role that we play as parents in safeguarding a healthy self-esteem in our children. Children are born free, happy, and then things start creeping up, things start happening, things start going on with them that will make them, have this feeling. So it is awareness of self and a feeling of shame. A talking snake, which comes in when I'm talking about a talking snake, is just an analogy, right? Just follow through what I'm saying. So we have the media, we have poverty. We have people that grow up in abject poverty and become so ashamed of their parents' state of life that it causes a dent in their self-esteem. They no longer believe in themselves, or they believe that they need to prove a point. They have that inferiority complex. That is that low self-esteem that I'm talking about. Many people can mask it, they can hide it, they can make it look like they're okay, but it's inside. You have domestic violence or unhealthy relationships. Remember, I said when I just started talking that one of the indicators of whether you have a good self-esteem or not is in the decisions that you will make. So when you find yourself constantly repeating unhealthy patterns, it should make you stop and say, I probably don't think that I am deserving of a good relationship. If you happen to always be with people that bring you down, if you happen to always be your first boyfriend beat you blue, your second boyfriend beat you black, now you're married to a man who is beating you blue black, that is because you don't believe inside of you that you are worthy or you are worth love that does not hurt. You don't believe inside of you that you are worth love that does not hurt. You have sexual abuse and verbal abuse. Those are things that happen not only to children, but also to, adults. When a person is sexually abused or verbally abused, it creates a dent in their self-esteem. I have highlighted just a few points, but this life that we go through will throw at us a number of experiences. Ones we can anticipate, the ones that we may not anticipate, things that would throw us off the curve. And those things have the ability to dent your esteem. And that's why we must fight. We must do everything possible to protect our self-esteem. My message today, or at this point, is directed towards parents, because a lot of us are adults now and things happen to us in our childhood that our parents have no idea about. But here you are as an adult fighting, dealing with this low self-esteem, struggling with yourself. So as parents, we have to be very, very conscious of what happens, because we are custodians. We are custodians of our children's esteem. Before they get to a place where they are able to safeguard and, ensure that they are making the right decisions to protect their esteem, we as parents have to do it. We have to do it in the words that we tell our children. Please don't be so quick to always criticize. For some reason, we say, if I tell them that they are doing good, their head will swell. I would rather have a child with a swollen head from my affirmations than have a child with a broken spirit because of my criticisms, than have a child with a broken spirit because I keep on hitting hard on them. The effects or the consequences of a low self-esteem are far-reaching, and I will get into that. I just want to lay the foundation of how we even get to a place where we're struggling with our self-esteem as children. There are some children, their parents never tell them how good they are. They only hear about the mistakes they have made. When you see your child correcting their mistake, it's an opportunity to affirm. It's an opportunity to say, good job. You are a custodian of your child's esteem. When your child goes to school and come back, ask them questions. What happened in school? Did someone bully you? Did someone throw a slang? Those things have the ability to pull down their self-esteem. Now, as adults that we are now, for those of you listening to me, we're now an adult, and you're saying, Estelle, I think I have a self-esteem problem. I think that I don't value myself. What should I do? And that's why we're here. We probably will not be able to go through the entire thing today, but wherever we stop, in 2 weeks, we will continue. Think about it for a second. A lot of motivational speakers or bloggers or people are talking about the fruits. You see them bashing, people who bleach their skin, or side chick here, no side chick there, or you have a friend who is in a relationship and you know very well that it's not good for her or good for him, but he or she insists on continuing to be in that relationship. Those are all signs. Those are fruits of a low self-esteem. The problem is the low self-esteem, or I should say, the cause of it is where we will begin to start helping people like that. Now you're asking yourself, do I have a self-esteem problem? Do I have a low self-esteem problem? Let me go over some tendencies of someone who has a low self-esteem, so that if you can identify with this, then you know that there's more work to be done. And trust me, there is work to be done, and work that can be done where you're able to move past that negative belief of yourself to where you can start believing that you're worth every good and perfect thing as God ordained. The first thing is easily intimidated. Are you easily intimidated? Are you the type of person that walks into a party and you're looking for the corner to hide in? You want to disappear. Where you find people, it is almost as though they have taken the life out of you. An introvert and someone with low self-esteem is not the same thing. Introverts by nature want to be in a quiet space and don't want a lot of interaction. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who, when they get into any scenario, if they just find a person well dressed up or, look like they have their ish together, that alone just sends them into panic mode. They begin to look at themselves. They are easily intimidated. They're unable to state their positions. They're unable to state their own opinions. They are yes people. That hit a chord. They are yes people. They are unable to take a stand for themselves. That could be an indication that you don't believe that you're worth anything. Second, people that have a low self-esteem, and as I talk through, try to see whether you fit into any of this. It's a person who has a victim mentality. Poor me, why me? If anything happened, it's another person's fault. You're always the victim. You never think of responsibility for yourself. You always take the stance of a victim. If something were to happen, you are blaming somebody, you are accusing someone, you are, it's everybody else but yourself. That's an indication of a person with a low self-esteem. Unhealthy relationship patterns, I talked about that. You're with a guy, right? He cheated on you. Before you even said anything, he's like, oh no, I don't care about you. You're still there. This guy is cheating on you. This guy is beating you. This woman is doing all sorts of things. If you have an unhealthy relationship pattern, I don't care how good your pictures are on Facebook, right? I don't care how good your makeup looks. You have a problem inside. You don't believe that you're worth something. You don't believe that you're worth love. You don't believe that good things should happen to you. And that's a problem. We want to get to the root of it. We don't want to just look for the fruit. We want to get to, where did this start? What happened? And then we have problems of self-acceptance. To be honest with you, most people, you will hardly find a person who says from head to toe, I love everything about me. Hardly, right? We're always like, oh, I wish my nose was a little bit smaller, right? I wish my hair was a little bit longer. Or I wish I could talk like this. Or I wish my shape was in somehow. Hardly would you ever find someone who loves everything about themselves. But then the difference is, I've accepted That if you don't think that my nose is good enough, that's your problem, right? It's how God made me. I've accepted it. I'm moving towards my purpose, regardless of what anybody thinks. That's acceptance. There are people that are struggling with acceptance. They're struggling with the fact that they are Black. They're struggling with the fact that they were raised in a particular family. They're struggling with the fact that their father or their mother could not provide for them, and so they had to live a certain life. If you struggle with self-acceptance, you have an inferiority problem. The next thing is skin bleaching. We have heard a lot about this. There are people that bleach their skin because it ties back to self-acceptance. They have been told that fairer skin is better, right? And so they live with that mentality. They have not accepted themselves. These are all indications of the fact that you might have a low self-esteem. Low self-esteem, and these things I've identified, are the fruits of it. The root of it is where we need to go. Is where I think a lot of speakers, a lot of bloggers, a lot of motivational, inspirational people are not going to. We need to go down to what was the lie that you believed that made you think that you are not pretty enough. What was it that you watched that sowed a seed in your heart that said your value amounts to nothing? Because unless we go to it, we cannot start talking about how to move from a low self-esteem to a healthy self-esteem. Because it takes just more than affirmation. It takes more than me talking to you. In fact, I wish I could help you, but it's work that only you can do. For us to cut the fruit, we have to cut the tree. For us to cut the tree, we have to cut the root. And what is the root cause of that self-esteem problem? From the passage that we read, the root cause was the disobedience, was listening to the serpent saying, the talking serpent saying, do you think that you don't, or, did you believe God, or whatever the serpent said to Eve and Adam? A lot of us have talking serpents in many shapes and forms and sizes speaking to us, being that accusing voice. And I'll tell you my story. This is where my story comes in. When I was about, I think, 20, I moved to South Korea. I left home. I was in South Korea, and for the first time, really, right, when you grow up in a homogeneous society, homogeneous meaning where all of you are the same, we're all, Black or dark skin, and we never even identified as Black. I was a Cameroonian in my Cameroonian society, but for the first time abroad, I was labeled Black. And then, there was this notion in South Korea where slim, tender girls were the beautiful girls. Slim, tender, with long, dark hair and small eyes were beautiful. And here I was, this chubby kid, dark, round, curvy, among them. And I began to think to myself, I'm not pretty enough. Mark you, I was not 4 or 5. I was 20. Okay, meaning that this is something that will happen. You don't have to be a child. You could be an adult and face a situation where it has a dab on your esteem. And if you don't work on it, it could cause ripple effects down the lane. I really felt unpretty, right? Because I believe the media, the society's definition of beauty. It got to a point where I could not look in the mirror. Where if I were to see a mirror, I would look the other way. I remember talking to my friend Lois. I don't even know if she remembers Lois, though. I don't know if she remembers this conversation. And I told her what I was facing or how I was feeling. And she was like, Estelle, how can you of all people feel that way? And I was thinking to myself, what's Lois saying in me that she thinks that I should not feel that way, right? But I felt I could not look at a mirror. If I saw a mirror on the side, I would walk past it real quick because I didn't want to see myself, because I thought that I looked so ugly compared to the definition, the perception of beauty that was propagated in that society. It got to a point where I was like, you know what? I cannot live like this. I'm with myself everywhere I go. I can't hate whom I carry around. And I started crying out to God, and I asked God, you've got to help me see myself the way you see me. Because I am looking at myself through this lens, through this talking serpent of a media that is saying, you're not pretty enough. You need to be slim and slender. You are not good enough. And I prayed more than once because I remember I had to say it so many times. And one day I had to pray it so many times. One day I had an epiphany. And here is my epiphany. I hope that it would help someone. An epiphany is when you have a sudden realization of a truth. When it comes alive like a light bulb. And it came alive to me looking at the sky, looking at creation, looking at how meticulous God is, how exact and precise He is in creating the sun and the sea, in creating the birds and everything that we have. And I said, would a meticulous God sleep on me? Why would it be that when it would come to creating me, He will make such a mistake that will cause me to dislike myself with this passion? It was upon that God impressed on my heart that He made me good. He made me fearfully and wonderfully, right? And I have to choose to believe what He says about me, because I asked Him that I wanted to see myself the way He sees me. And He said these things to me through His word. That was the eye opener for me. And I began to say, I am different. I don't have to be like a Korean woman to be beautiful. God made me beautiful. And I have walked from that place of revelation since. It will shock you that there are people around you, well made up, put together, look like their life is together, but they're struggling with a low self-esteem. They are really hating on themselves. Another thing that I learned is the conversations that I have with myself. I used to bash myself in ways that I didn't even know, including saying, oh, you did that stuff. You're so stupid for doing that. Never stupid. Never stupid. I am never stupid. And that's what I started saying to myself. I will make a mistake and recognize the mistake and make plans to be better, but never bashing myself. So my question to you is, if you have a low self-esteem and you can identify with what I spoke through, or the tendencies I highlighted, what is that thing that happened? And to you, what is that thing that caused you to look at yourself and say, I'm not worth anything? And that's where the real work begins. A lot of people don't want to do the work. Do you know why? Because it's difficult work. Sometimes it includes opening a wound that we just put a band-aid because it hurt so much. We did not want to come face to face with the thing that dented our self-esteem. You were not born that way. You were born loving yourself. You were born loving life. You were born with a healthy esteem. But something has happened in your life. Until we get to what that thing is, we're unable to move on because everything else is a band-aid. To me, it was identifying that the media was saying I'm too fat. I would do everything that I need to do to be healthy, but I will not allow the media to define what my standards of beauty will be. To another person, it could be sexual abuse. After that sexual abuse, you felt dirty. You did not feel clean at all. You felt like something about you was lacking. It's time for us to go back to it, even if it means getting counseling, right? Because remember, your self-esteem is so important. It will determine the choices and the decisions that you make. Let me put on if you have any questions, I just want people to send in their questions because we're about to wrap up. So if there are any questions, I can answer live before I go off the air. So I'm going back to, what are those things that happen? What is that talking serpent in your life that said things to you that has made you believe that you're not worth anything? Your self-esteem is what no one can take away from you. that when you walk into a room, whether 10 million people are there and people are laughing, you are grounded in yourself. There's a difference between low confidence, right, and a low self-esteem. It's not the same thing. There are days when you have low confidence, when, let's say, you walk or you did not sleep well, or you feel like you have gained a little bit of weight, or your shoes are a little bigger than you thought, and you walk somewhere and you're just having a low confidence moment. It's not the same thing as a low self-esteem, because a low confidence moment is momentarily. It's momentary. It's not for a long period of time. But when you realize that you're having too many low confident moments, it could be an indication that your self-esteem is suffering. I encourage you to do the work, to call a counselor. I sit with my friends. This is what I enjoy doing, and walking them through to the root of the matter. What is it? What caused it? Some people, it's rejection. They were adopted. Because they were adopted as a child, they believe that they're not wanted. And they carry along this throughout their lives, feeling that way. That should not be the case, because the truth of the matter always counteracts a lie. Okay? Let's go back to the Eden story. What the talking serpent told Eve and Adam was a lie. And that was the lie in which he used to bring them to a self-awareness and also to inflict that shame on them. Whatever is causing you to believe that you're worth nothing, I can guarantee 100% it's a lie. But you're saying, but Estelle, look at my body. I have this issues with my deformities. It's not a lie. I can see it right here in front of me. The lie is your perception. You looking at it and thinking that because you are this way, you are less off. You were that way and God made it so and said you are good. Right. So let me see if there's anything else that I wrote down here. And so to move to a healthy self-esteem takes time. Okay. Your self-esteem was broken over time. It did not just happen. So it's going to take a while for it to be built back. But you have to commit to the process of it, including the painful process of going to the roots of it. And in our next session, I will start highlighting some of those root problems, because I cannot go through everything in one video. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to come back on and take one issue after another and hash it out. I was able, through the mercy of God, to see myself the way He sees me, to refuse to be defined by society, to know that I have an equal right to stand as a human being on this earth. Under no circumstance shall anyone make me feel that I'm not supposed to be here. Under no circumstance shall anyone make you feel that you are less of it. If you are among people that make you feel that way, find the courage and the strength to move on, because you are worth everything. God says so. Who dare say otherwise? Who dare say something else? So guys, I hope this has really encouraged someone. I'm just going to look on to see if I have any questions. If you have any live questions, this will be a good time to share. And I would be taking text the number that's on your screen, and I'll get the question, which I would answer now live, and we'll close the session. Let me see if we have any questions. For some reason, I don't see the comments, and that's probably because it's live on my Facebook profile. But if you wanted to drop a comment for me to see, let me see. Oh, thank you, I said. Thank you, Mirel. Mirel says accepting ourselves and learning to love ourselves is so important. Yes, my sister, it's so important. Like, it's a whole process. It's something that, they don't teach us in school. They don't teach us how to accept ourselves. Like, what does that even mean? But as we are maturing, and now that we know better, for those of us that are parents, we will do for our children. We will teach them to love themselves. I'm all for makeup and glam. I'm never going to tell anyone, don't put makeup or don't do your hair. It's beautiful, but your life cannot depend on it, right? Because you know that there are people that they would rather be caught dead than be without their makeup. They would rather be caught dead than be without themselves put up in a particular way. That's bondage now. That's serious bondage. That should not be you. You're beautiful. So teach your children that you are beautiful with or without. This makeup is just an enhancement of what is already there. We're beautiful. And not everyone would think that you are. Please, if you're struggling to create the impression that you are slay and beautiful to everybody, trust me, that's never going to happen. All right, I don't see any questions coming in. If you want to send questions, we have about 5 more minutes. And we would wrap it up. I have another talk. I'm sharing about my immigrant story with Eno. She will be live on, I think, on LinkedIn, and so she wants me to talk about my story and how I became a lawyer. Didn't go to school in the US. So if you have time, you can join us. It's in 20 minutes. So it's at 11 o'clock Texas time. I'm just waiting to see if we have any questions before I wrap this up. Guys, the fight for a healthy self-esteem, right? It's a fight. And for those who don't know, they might underestimate it. They may be like, oh, what are you even talking about? There are people that cry at night. There are people that look at themselves and it's almost like, oh God, why? Why did you make me like this? You know? But we have to, it's a fight because you know that you have believed a lie. That's what I shared today. God made you perfect. God made you beautiful. God made you the way he made you to accomplish the mission for which you are here for, right? You are not any less. The mission carved out for you is for a person like you, for a person with your experiences, for a person with the journey that you have. Nobody else will be able to do it because your story is unique. Dre says, talk to yourself like you would talk to yourself like you would to someone you love. Yes. Do you know that we are sometimes very critical on our own selves more than people? Like you will never look at a person and say, you stupid fool. But to yourself, it's okay to say, no. You will never bash another person, but to yourself, you will bash yourself. You are supposed to be your highest cheerleader. You are supposed to be your biggest champion. Because this body, this self, this life carries you around. Without this body, you're 6 feet, you're dead, right? So why would you bash your very self? I say this, and I had that epiphany because before I would, ask a question and be like, oh, stupid question, how can you be so stupid? You know that voice that would just be speaking in your head. After that, I said, no. And sometimes it comes up, I will not lie to you. It does come up and I'll be like, no, not today. Not today. Not over me. No. I silence that voice. The voice is my voice in my head. I silence that voice before it gets any louder. Not me. Not today. I may have made a mistake, but I'm learning from my mistake. All right, people. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Like I said, I will come on live every 2 weeks. Every week is a little bit too tasking, and I want to be able to share something that will be of value to you. My prayer, my hope for anyone who is suffering, send me a message, private message. Let's walk this thing together. If you're dealing with something and you don't have someone you can talk to about it, I'm here. I offer those sessions. I do it for my friends. I will not mind adding you. If you check through the comments, there is the Better Way with Excel. It's a private group of people that I'm sharing more intimate things with. You can join that group to be a part of what I'm going to be sharing and getting into more details about building ourselves. We will talk about a lot of things. The fact that you're unable to get into a healthy relationship also, those are all indications of a poor self-esteem. All right, people. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great Saturday. Go on and be your bad self. Go on and do the things that you know you're called to do. Please stop making excuses. Do what you want to do, that you can do, and be the best version of yourself. Thank you guys for joining me. God bless you.
Come to me to receive answers.